In this Year 9 extended homework project, students will be asked to look at what life was like on the Western Front. What we would like them to do is to understand what the experience was like for soldiers fighting in trenches on the Western Front. The learning outcomes are to understand two aspects in depth of what life was like on the Western Front through their own research. We would like them to create a presentation, which they will be then showing to the rest of the class. And then we would like them to be able to evaluate each other's work through an agreed mark scheme. The historical skill is that of historical inquiry, while the pelts that they will be looking at are independent inquirer, effective participator, self-managers and team workers. In groups of no more than 4, students will have 2 lessons to research 2 topics on trench warfare, plus their homework as well. They will present their findings to the rest of the class. Students will be expected to complete a research as they go. The levels that students will be marked to are on the mark scheme below. Please pause. Various topics can be studied. By no means is this list entirely inclusive. As students carry out their own research, students will be expected to fill in a research log to show their own research. It may be possible that students will do this by comparing their work and research in class, or alternatively they might want to set up a collaborative work document online. A resource like Etherpad would be something I could suggest. During Lesson 2, students will have to direct specific tasks to each person within their group. They will then be able to evaluate the performance of each member of the group to determine whether or not people have carried out the tasks that they set themselves. As you can see from the second document, reflection is a key part of this process so students understand the manner in which they carry out their independent learning. Action planning will inform work that will be undertaken by members of each group during subsequent lessons. Students will be able to research in any way they like using any materials that they can find. The school library and identified websites will all be made available to students. It's very important that the students record the sites that they go to in detail, for example, citing specific websites or authors. As students watch the presentations of other students, they will be asked to acknowledge what they have learned from their peers. And finally, students will be asked to evaluate their overall performance in this particular lesson. What have they learnt, and also what have they learnt about the process of their own learning, as part of our process at Plymstot to develop students as independent learners in readiness for their GCSEs, A-level and beyond. This is the work that students have been asked to undertake during their first lesson. Please use the QR code, the highlighted box in the right-hand corner of this screen, to further research the work students will be undertaking. More information on the personal learning and thinking skills, the pelts that are being undertaken, can be seen here. For students to understand what makes a good presentation, they will need to reflect upon the group work and presentation skills they have already developed over years 7, 8 and 9 while studying at Key Stage 3 in history. Certain things work better than others. Students should avoid that their presentation does not involve cutting and pasting from other presentations or other websites and also make sure that they should not overload their audience with too much information at any one time. Too much information is likely to be read from the screen and be boring to the audience. Students should be aware of the key criteria listed here as to what constitutes a good presentation. Students should also pay attention to what their presentation looks like. Again, this is something that students will have studied and problems that students will have been confronted before in the past with in their work on presentation that they have done in history.